Welcome to the IntualityAI podcast, the show in which right now we are trying to make predictions for COVID-19 and what's going to happen in the future. And on this show, we're going to look at how we've done in the last month, which might actually surprise you because IntualityAI has been actually very accurate. So without further ado, here is Grant Rainier to tell us all about where we're at with our predictions and where we are moving forward for the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Grant.
Okay, Howard. Well, we've got some surprises. Some of it is good from a technical standpoint. However, obviously we're still suffering from the pandemic worldwide. And so we're going to show you some charts. The first one is the chart of the record of how we've done. Back on the 10th of August, or of April, I'm sorry, we had a podcast which can be viewed still on YouTube, where we made predictions at that point of the number of deaths and cases for the United States, for the United Kingdom, and for Canada. And so we took this pause here to see how we compared to where the actual data is today on May 4th and see how close we came to our predictions being met. And it's pretty surprising. For the United States, as you can see, the number of cases we predicted were about 1.3 million. Actually, today they are about 1.1 or 1.2 million. We were over predicting them about 15%. But on the other hand, there's a general understanding or comments ongoing from the experts that the cases are typically being underpredicted or underreported anyway. That aside, we go to the deaths for the United States, and we predicted 66,500 back on April 10th, and today it is actually 68,000. We missed it by about 0.2%. So we think that that's pretty good. We wish that we had probably overestimated it, but that's not quite what happened. In the United Kingdom, the cases, again, to show the data back on April 10th, there was a data reporting problem that was coming in from our sources, and so we were not able to show that comparison. But on deaths, the prediction was 29,500, and today it was right at 29,000, which is about 2% off, which we think, again, is pretty good. For Canada, the cases we predicted were 60,000, and they were 61,000 as of today. Again, about 2% off. The number of deaths we underpredicted. We predicted 3,000, and today they were 3,800. So if you put all of this together and just concentrating on the number of deaths, we predicted about 99,000 deaths between the three countries, and the actual was about 100,800, and we missed it by about 2%. Now, the reason we're doing all of this is to obviously check the validity of our projections and to give some credence to the projections as we go forward.
Yes, and there have been other models. We're not familiar with every one. Some of them are not made public, but the ones that have been made public, I think, were significantly under those numbers and underestimating the number of deaths on May 4th. Okay, so Intuality is doing pretty well in terms of its predictive capability. What is it suggesting for the next 3 months?
Okay, so let me go to that. First of all, are the cases of predictions for the United States up through August. And you can see the curve basically saying that the growth is going to continue. This is not too far off from the general expectation from other comments that are being made from experts and the administration that this thing is still not under control. We see some flattening, a slight flattening of the curve in July, but then something akin to a second wave picking up in August.
Yeah,
As far as the death, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
and the problem with cases is it really depends on testing and testing kits, and so we're always leery about that prediction because changes in testing and capacity will make a big difference on those cases.
That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah, and so, however, deaths, of course, are probably a little bit more accurate because of the records that are generated as they occur. And it's predicting a top flattening of the curve of deaths somewhere around 100,000 or maybe a little less at this point. And then that flattening will continue from the middle or the early part of July into the early part of August when the system is predicting again a second wave. Not different from what it's been doing over the last number of weeks.
Yeah, in those cases, those deaths by the end of August are over 100,000, by maybe 105,000. So
That's correct.
yeah,
And the other thing is that just a few moments ago, as you know, there's been a report from the administration that the number of deaths will ramp up to be running at a rate of about 3,000 a day. And in our case, the overall average from this set of curves is about half of that. So we may see a difference as we go forward here. And we will keep doing podcasts and updating the system and reporting that to see if that's true. For Canada, the growth rate continues to about 1,000 per day in new cases without much of a let up. Slight slowing down in July, but then continuing in August. And then the number of deaths in Canada, again, will continue at a rate of about 25 to 30 per day, up through into the latter part of June. And then in the early part of August, the system is predicting, again, a second wave. So that's not what everybody's looking for, but that's the way it looks at this point.
okay.
For the United Kingdom, we see a continued growth at a rate of about 1,300 per day, all the way up into the middle part of July. Some flattening, but then a very definite indicator of a second wave occurring in the middle of August. So that is pretty much in keeping with what the system is predicting for the UK as well. So I'm going to go back to final two charts. I'm sorry, I skipped the deaths for the UK. I'm sorry about that. The deaths seem to be predicted to be leveling out at about 35,000 at the end of June, and then picking up with a new second wave in the early part of August. So now I'm going to go back to the United States, again with the same 7 states that we reported on the last time, indicating, and these are basically the ones that have the highest death rates, or not death rates, but the highest total number of deaths. And this is what that looks like with, again, New York, the green line still being at the top and very differentiated from the rest. Again, we have charts for all 50 states plus, and but there's just too much to show here on a single chart. We show here something that the system also includes at the top. Howard, is what we call alerts. And this is where the system is detecting specific changes in rates of growth. And it is indicating that there is a somewhat of a decline, unique change in the rate of growth for around the 7th, 8th, and 9th of May. It's hard to see in the curves themselves, but that's a pretty good sign that maybe things might be slowing down in the coming week. And then finally, on the deaths within the same set of states, again, New York is at the top, and with a slight flattening out in the latter part of June, but then picking up again. And then there's another single alert for around the 7th of May that may indicate that there is some slowing down in the rate. So that's what we've got, Howard, at this point. Again, the big thing is that the chart that shows that we are pretty right on in terms of predictions. And as far as we know, there are no other publicly available charts that are doing this. So we stand alone, we think, in doing this kind of prediction. And of course, it's free, and but we are welcoming all sorts of comments.
We're also encouraging you to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get updates. We update at least once a week, generally a couple of times a week. So please feel free to subscribe. You can also get more information and more data at IntualityAI.com, where you can find out a lot more about IntualityAI, its history, research and development over 30 years. And we hope that you are interested in this and this is helpful to you. Again, we say these are predictions that artificial intelligence is making without any input from us. We're not putting anything in except raw data and allowing the programmed intelligence to pump out these predictions. And so we'll just have to see where it goes. But I don't know whether to say we're encouraged, because the increase in data that we've been predicting in terms of increases in cases and deaths is not something to feel encouraged about. But the prediction from almost a month ago does seem to be pretty accurate.
Yeah, and of course, one of the primary uses for this kind of information is for planning purposes. Obviously, everybody wants to know what is the near-term future here for cases and deaths, and that can have a big impact on decisions about healthcare in general.
Right.
And so we hope that everybody understands that, and we're quite welcome to have anybody contact us to get any more detail that we're unable to present in a podcast of this length. And then finally, we would very much appreciate if you would kindly subscribe or hit the subscribe button down in the lower left-hand corner. All of that helps us in gaining credibility and traction and visibility on YouTube. So we would very much appreciate that. And so Howard and I will be back to you within a few days here with follow-up podcasts and more predictions.
Absolutely. So till then, stay safe. Follow all the directions you'll be being given by the health professionals, and we'll see you soon. Take care.